Hey everybody, this is Timothy Gay here, back with another review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Small Star Empires expansions. So I've already done a review of the base game, which, spoiler, I really enjoyed it. And now they're coming out with two new expansions on the Kickstarter. These were given to me by the designer, so full disclosure, these were given for free for the purposes of this review. But there's two expansions. There's Dawn of Discoveries, which comes with all this stuff. I've organized it so nicely. And then we got Galactic Divide, which comes with all this stuff. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to assume you know how to play because I did a video that kind of goes through the basics of the game. In the base game, I've set up a board here. That kind of just a sample board. There's more tiles in the base game, but I just wanted to show some examples off and show you how these expansions really add another layer to the game. Okay? So, what comes in Galactic Divide? We'll start with that one. Galactic Divide gives you these unique player boards, and everybody gets one of those at the beginning of the game. And on these boards, each player has two unique powers that they can activate by obtaining power. So this track here is their power scale. And they would use that power that they get to activate these unique player powers. Powers for powers. So say I'm the yellow guy and I want to activate Unity ships on my turn. I would pay 2 power, because there's a 2 there, and it would go boom, and it would move down, okay? And so if I wanted to do it on a future turn, I'd pay 2, and it would slide down, and then 3, and then 4. So it gets more expensive as the game goes on. But one other thing is, if you ever have the bottom power, you do it the same way. If they ever line up like this, you'll get a bonus here that says 1 fist is power. So you get 1 power back that you would add to your track. So you'd basically be getting a cost reduction. So you kind of want to have these things kind of going down together for the most part. If it works out for the best that way, you know, it would be really nice because that's free power. So that's how the player boards work. But how do you get this power? Well, one way that comes in this expansion are these little, what are they called? Sorry, I can never remember these names. These are your war bases, I think. I know what they are. These are used. So let's say, for example, I was yellow here. On my turn, I could move, and then normally, you know, you could put out colonies or trade posts from the base game. Well, this adds this new base to it. So I could put that out on my turn. And what that does is it kind of acts like the trade ones where you need your opponent to be there, because you'll get 2 points for every opponent colony next to it. Or not points, sorry, 2 power, which would be your power on this chart. Okay? And then you get 1 point for everything else that is your opponent's. So right now this would be 3 power that I could spend to activate my ability. Okay? Now you can also get 2 power if you build this next to an opponent's home world, their starting spot. So that's one way you can use those to get power. They also would act as a defensive mechanism. So if I had some of my colonies out here around it and I put this next to it, adjacent to it, it would protect anything of mine that from the other players' attacks. Which there's going to be some attacks now, which is right up my alley and much needed in my opinion. So let's talk about, so that's basically the whole Galactic Divide expansion. But let's go ahead and talk about the differences between these factions. So the Oranor Union is all about peaceful approaches to the game. So you're going to want to try to avoid conflict. And on the back, it kind of gives a backstory for them. And it does that on all these factions. And the cool thing, let's just take a look straight at their power. Unity ships. Your ships may pass through opponent systems and gain 1 point for every one you go through. So like in the base game, you couldn't fly spaceships through opponents' things. They acted like blocks. But if you activate this Unity ship power, woo, you can fly right through. So that's really a cool way that it breaks a rule. And that's what a lot of these are, is basically ways to bend or even break the rules. So that's one example. So this is Galactic Union. You can colonize a system that contains another player's colony. And before you could not do that. So I could add a colony and get the points that they already got. And so there'd be a couple of colonies there. So they are kind of like, negotiators. They work with everybody. Then we have the Tolerant Republic, which is all about remaining alone and working by themselves. So this would be, it says score 1 point for every system you control adjacent to your homeworld. So they really want to kind of stick to their homeworld and start expanding off, because their other power, the Annex Territories, helps you with this, because after you move and colonize with your ship, you can colonize adjacent to the ship into any spots with a total up to 3 planets. So what does that mean? So if I went, let's say, for our example, if I colonized here, I could also colonize this spot and this spot, because 1, 2, 3. Remember, the dots are planets. So, or I could just throw one into there. But the total, or I could do 1, 2, 3. So that's pretty cool. They're kind of like a clump forming group. They kind of ball up around go around the board like a little wrecking ball kind of thing. Really neat. I'm going to save my favorite for the last. Then we have the Pern Conglomerate, and they're all about trade. The trade post, I mean, even the symbol in the trade post is there, That's what that one is. So the Galactic Corporation, they could replace one of your trade stations, that thing I just showed you, with a colony, and you would gain 1 point for every adjacent system under an opponent's control. So that would be a way to get your trade post back, because you have a limited amount of those, and they're pretty powerful instant point explosions. So you could exchange it and get it back and then try to do it again and again. So that's a really cool way to cycle in and out of your trade posts. Now we have trade ships. After you move your ship, immediately gain X for it as though it were a trade station. So you would pretend like this yellow, you would move after you activated this power. You'd move to that spot and you would get 2 points because you're pretending your ship. And then you can decide what to put out, which could be anything. Could be a battle station. Oh, I remembered it. It's a battle station. I can't believe I forgot that. That's kind of embarrassing. So, Hantalar Empire. This is my favorite one. This one is the mean one. If you don't like meanness and direct attacking in games, don't play with this. That's why they're the red ones. Red's bad. So, battleships. Damage a ship that is adjacent to one of your ships and score 2 points. Remember, if you damage a ship, it gets turned sideways and can only move 2 spots until it gets back to its home world to repair itself. So this is mean. And you get 2 points. Super mean. Galactic Conquest. Destroy an opponent non-nebula, which the nebulas are those colors that you're trying to collect. Opponent's non-nebula adjacent colony adjacent to at least 2 of your systems. At the end of the game, score 2 points for each colony you have destroyed. So you would actually remove their colony off the board and keep them for score tracking. So that's 1 less colony for them, and then also removing their colonies so that you could take them. So pretty mean, and you get 2 points for each of those. Craziness. So those are all the factions. They feel different. Like I said, they have a little backstory, and they even mention will they establish their dominance through the galaxy, or will they just get beaten? So it's kind of neat. It kind of gives you a heads up of what their strategy is on the back. So it's pretty cool. I like that. And a little bit of their history and why they are like they are. Now, that was Galactic Divide. Let's take a look at Dawn of Discoveries. And these can be used together, by the way, which I would probably recommend doing, because this one goes hand in hand with the Galactic Divide. This one adds technology. And so at the beginning of the game, you'll shuffle all these technology cards up, and you'll deal a card for each of the players out in the market +1. Okay? And now what these are technologies that you can acquire throughout the game. So we have these little gems up here. At the beginning of the game, you would take a gem and place it on every single planet spot on the board, because these spots were really kind of like, nobody really cares about them until there's no more spots to really go for. You don't want to go for them at the beginning because it's 1 point, which is lame, but you can go and collect these different colored gems, and once you have gems equal to, like there's the cost there, that would cost 1 white and 2 green. So I'd want to go after those, and then I would get this technology. It would go in front of me, and I could use it at any time on my turn. Once you use it, you flip it over, and it's used for the game. You get 2 points at the end of the game for every technology that you have, so that's good, 2 points. But the other thing, I talked about another way to get power, to generate power for your special abilities. These help you with that. You see that little 2 fists? So when you use a technology, like when you flip it over to use it, you also gain 2 power, which you can then in turn use to do your abilities. So there's a whole bunch of different technologies here. But how do you get the money to pay for these technologies? So one way would be just simply to fly into the spot and collect the gem, and then colonize the spot if you wanted to. And you'd put that in your reserves to keep until you spend them on the technology. Now the other way would be, let's just say I flew into this spot. Well, every player's got 3 of these research stations. How cool are these? So I would put that bad boy right there, randomly take a gem, or a mineral, sorry, they look like gems. A mineral, put it in the middle. Now, if any other player comes and, say, later builds a colony next to my research station, they would get to take that random gem, and the first person, they would get a reward for being the first person building next to my research station, so we're sharing some research. They would take that, and then I would take a random from a bag. It comes with a bag. I don't have a bag, but it would you would randomly take one to add to your own reserve, and that's anytime someone builds. So from now on, that one is gone, but maybe somebody really wants to build, so to get those 3 points, you would get another random one. So it's just a way to keep generating more and more minerals to use for your technologies. Okay, so that is the 2 ways that you can generate minerals. Now, let's go through all these different types of technologies really quick. We got repair drones. Repair all your damaged ships. Awesome. Very helpful. We got the planetary siege cannon. After you move and colonize with your ship, gain 1 for each opponent next to you. So this is one, if you're going to build something like that next to a bunch of people, you could use this on that turn, flip it over, get the 2 power, and then get some points, bonuses. We got this deep space colony module. After you move and after you move and colonize, you may colonize another uninhabited star system adjacent to the ship you moved. So it'd be like an extra colonize. If you landed here, you colonize, you played this, you could colonize there too. It's a free colonize. Well, it's not really free. It costs 1 and 2. Then we also have recall drive, which you can return your ship to your home world. Say you really want to get across the board quick, boom, back home. Nebula drive, if you start your move on a nebula, you may move on another nebula this turn. So it's kind of like a wormhole from the original. That's really cool. It's cheap too. Now this is my favorite technology, because you can, one of the main rules is you can only move in a straight line. Well, this one lets you move and do turns. So you could, and that would be really good for the yellow and their Unity ships thing, where if you go through opponents, so you could go and like zigzag through a whole bunch of opponents, get some points. So I would always snatch that one up with yellow. Really cool. Advanced hyperspace drive. You can move your ship through one opponent's system this turn, which is yellow's power. Remember? So everybody can possibly get this. And that's technology. That's the 2 expansions. So what I really like about this is that, here, let's walk with me. We're going to talk about this on this beautiful rainy day. Now, what I really like about this expansion is that it doesn't get too much added to, excuse my mess, doesn't add too much complexity to the game, but at the same time you can scale how complex you want it to be. So like if I was playing with somebody that was new to the game, I didn't want to add too much, I could just play the base game. Then I could add the little extras from the base game. But if I wanted to add even more, I could scale this thing up to really flesh out the game. With people that have played the game a lot, I could make it so that you could just add the technologies, which is probably where I would start. You could also add the technologies with the personal player boards, which is what I really recommend, because the technologies really go hand in hand with those unique player powers. And like I showed you with the yellow and the other technology that was similar to it, there's ways people can get somewhat similar type stuff powers to the other ones through the technologies. So what this does first is it's going to add a lot of competition with those gems on the board, okay? Because people are going to be going after those gems, and they're going to be randomly distributed at the beginning of the game. So it's going to get people to go around the board a little bit more. The blue player that has the clumping one, probably not as much, because that's just not their strategy. They could if they need to. But I really like games that use expansions to just add more without changing the core rules. Because what I loved about the base game was it was so simple. You do one thing. This is not changed. You can do a player power to enhance that move, but the core of the game, the spirit of the game is unchanged. It adds another layer, and it's totally modular. Love that. The modularness of this game is insane. I don't think any other game in my collection has such variety in setup, such variety in choosing what expansions you want to use. You can use everything and just have a crazy game, jumping through wormholes, reds coming after you to attack you all of a sudden. So really just, it's hard for me to think of anything bad about what, in this game. So I really just had a good time with this one, and I appreciate Milan for sending it to me. I did bug him for a long time to try to get it, and because I knew it looked like something special, and he really did create something that he should be very proud of, and I definitely think it should be a great success on the Kickstarter. It deserves it, and I hope he makes more expansions, because I could see a whole slew of things he could do with more technologies. He could go off into a completely different direction entirely and add some some enemy fighters that fights everybody or something. I'm giving him some ideas that I want. So anyway, thanks for going on this weird walk around my backyard. There was a bunch of noise in the house, if you're wondering why all of a sudden I went outside. The mailman was coming in, so figured I didn't want to have to stop the review because I was feeling really good about this game again. And anyway, I'm a rambling mess. I really like it a lot. Good job, Milan, and everybody go check it out for sure. Thanks.